Hello and welcome to the Mental Health Book Club podcast with your hosts Sydney Timmins and Becky Lawrence. We would like to take this opportunity to let you know that we will be covering a diverse range of mental health topics that may be distressing to some listeners. You can find a full list of the topics being covered in each episode in the show notes. Please check the show notes before listening to any of our episodes. Welcome to the Mental Health Book Club podcast with your hosts Sydney Timmins and
Becky Lawrence.
And today this is going to be a bonus episode about comparing the book Made You Up by Francesca Zappia and The Quiet Room by Laurie Schiller.
Yeah, both of them deal with the condition of schizophrenia, and so we're looking at how they both portray it. One of them, Made You Up, is fiction, while Laurie writes her own account.
So I thought this episode would be important because then we can look at the way that the symptoms are described between both books. So one of the negatives that I spoke about when we did Made You Up was the fact that I felt that the portrayal of schizophrenia glamorised the condition.
This is actually the book that you scored higher and then reduced your rating.
I did indeed.
After you'd done the research about what schizophrenia was and the classification and the detail in it, you decided that it didn't actually live up to what you thought it had.
That is correct. So, as Becky said, on further looking at the additional information and materials around schizophrenia, I felt that really Made You Up glamorised the fact or certain symptoms associated with schizophrenia. So, we know that schizophrenia has this issue with hallucinations and delusions. And with hallucinations, that can be voices, that can be seeing things, that can be touch. So it's really anything to do with the senses. It could be smell. And also delusions, which are the false thoughts surrounding particular things, such as we see that Alex in Made You Up is obsessed with the fact that the communists are out to get her. And all of that is okay, makes sense. Even though there is some confusion between delusions and hallucinations at points in the book, I think it's not bad that those are talked about. However, I didn't think it necessarily went into as much detail as the way that Laurie describes everything. So, for example, the voices. The voices in Made You Up sounded like they were just like pop in and go, "Hi there.
Yeah.
Here's this voice. It's not that bad." And it's gone again.
Yeah.
Whereas for Laurie, it was just so intense. And the fact that there were command hallucinations, which were basically telling her to do certain things, I think that was probably more.
I also think, Made You Up is a fiction, so I think that's one of the reasons that we
you get poetic.
Yeah, you get poetic license, and it means it is trying to entertain as well. It's also for a younger audience, I think. But The Quiet Room, I think, shows you not just a small period of time like Made You Up does. It shows you basically decades of her life where she has had to deal with this on a constant basis. And I don't think you get that every day. It is a struggle. This is a lifelong condition. Sort of feeling from Made You Up. It does still seem, although you do get that this is a diagnosis that she'll have for life, it doesn't seem the same struggle for forever.
Yeah, between Alex and Laurie, particularly.
Yeah.
And also, there is a period in Made You Up where they don't think that Alex is taking her medication, and the symptoms have increased slightly. However, they're nowhere near as intense as what Laurie describes.
No.
Particularly when she has the period before she gets the new medication.
Yeah, but then if you think of Laurie's story where she first describes feeling the symptoms when she's sort of 17 and she's at a camp, and it does seem very intense. Maybe, we are thinking of The Quiet Room as a whole book when actually it's probably only that first part where she actually she's not really honest with everybody about what she's experiencing. That is the same context of Made You Up as that young teenager dealing with it. However, in Made You Up, it does seem to imply that she's had it for a long time. And she's accepted what it is.
And also the fact that the hallucinations, when they do crop up and she has visual hallucinations, they're not really necessarily that bad, the descriptions of them.
Yeah. So I think Yeah, I don't know. I think the one about in the bedroom where she sees the other boy and he's all scary and that's quite intense in the book, but it's not the same.
I didn't think it was.
I didn't think it was on the same level of intensity as The Quiet Room. I do think it's underplayed as a condition in Made You Up.
Now, this is I don't want this to sound insensitive in any way, shape or form, but this is me trying to express my own self-identity. So this may cause upset to some people, it may not. But reading The Quiet Room, I never want to be ever faced with schizophrenia, ever. In comparison to Made You Up, where I went, oh yeah, I could probably live with this if this is as bad as it got. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I get that. But then it is trying to portray, I suppose, to a younger audience who maybe, I wouldn't necessarily recommend that teenagers read The Quiet Room.
But that is reality.
Yeah,
and
but
its onset is around 16, 17 is the typical time of onset. And if you are downplaying it after reading Made You Up,
you're probably not giving it justice.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. But I also do appreciate that, it is a shortened period of time that she is discussing. She does end it with her going back to the hospital. It's not all...
quite significantly, severely with handcuffs and stuff.
Yeah. Not, everything's well and good. But at the same time, I always felt the handcuffs and that played up the stereotype of danger, where Laurie doesn't do that, I don't think, in her book. She doesn't talk about...
She talks about being restrained when she gets into the hospital in the hospital setting. But I think that is completely different to them carting her off.
And that's actually to protect people, herself and the people around her from where she lashes out, not that she is going to somehow disrupt a whole auditorium of
graduation ceremony.
Yeah.
I also felt that Made You Up downplayed the negative symptoms associated with schizophrenia. So yes, there is this period of time where she goes off her medication, but those symptoms don't ever seem to be addressed. There is nothing to do with the fact that she starts to reduce her self-care.
Yeah. Yeah, no, the other things that we see go along with it. Yeah, no, I agree. I also that it doesn't, it doesn't show the self-medicating side and the.
Don't get me wrong, not everyone's going to potentially self-medicate.
No, I don't know. It's not a true portrayal because it's not
meant to be a true portrayal. However, I think that if a book deals with a mental health issue, it should be as accurate as it can be. Yeah. And I don't think Made You Up was as accurate as it could be.
Yeah, it needed to be more realistic, not necessarily as realistic and as detailed as Laurie's experiences, but it needed to be maybe more research done to deepen the understanding through Made You Up.
I also think that because I think in Made You Up it was underplayed, maybe more people would come forward saying that there's something wrong with them.
Yeah.
When maybe there isn't, and conversely the other way around, whether you would go, well, that's a portrayal of schizophrenia, then what I'm experiencing is 10 times worse, I'm not going to tell anyone.
Maybe.
I don't know, this is just random stuff coming out of my head.
It always is for us.
Never.
No, it's hard because I think they are so different.
I guess it is comparing chalk and cheese together, but...
more like comparing Parmesan to mozzarella.
Or Labradors to Terriers, because we happen to be sat on the sofa with Labradors and Terriers.
Yeah, we're very sleepy today, which is nice because they're not barking in the background. Yeah, I think it is quite difficult to compare the two, but I also think that Made You Up didn't do full justice to what having schizophrenia is like for a person. So
if you were to be asked to recommend one book over the other, Made You Up to The Quiet Room, which way round would you recommend it?
I would definitely recommend The Quiet Room. I thought it was very insightful into what it was like to have schizophrenia, and a true account is always going to be that much better for me. As a historian, it's about the true evidence. So I do think that I would recommend The Quiet Room over Made You Up. But I do think Made You Up maybe has its place in teen fiction.
Highlighting it, highlighting that there is this condition that will result or could result in hallucinations and delusions.
Yeah. I wonder if Laurie had read Made You Up, if she would have maybe discussed the voices she was hearing earlier on.
Maybe.
I don't know. It's just putting it out there.
But then, is it a product of the time that was written in 2015? Made You Up was written in 2015, in comparison to Laurie, who went through all of this in the 1980s.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's also a different time period.
It is true. True. Well, I do think that The Quiet Room does show not only a good portrayal of schizophrenia, I also think it shows a really good portrayal of the history of the mental health service and where it was in the 1980s and 90s compared to now. I know it's America, but the sort of medical profession of what's available is similar to what we would have had here. And so I do think that Made You Up doesn't have that added sort of extra that you can learn from it.
Also, I think that during the book we see that Laurie is constantly told that the voices are not real, that they are in her head, and it takes her a long time to actually acknowledge that fact. And we see that in Made You Up, Alex is lied to by her parents about her sister, and that is a hallucination that she thinks she is seeing her sister all the time, when in fact her sister has passed away. And I know that we spoke at the time about the fact that they're grieving and they're finding it difficult themselves. However, should you feed the hallucination of the person with schizophrenia?
Well, I would probably say no, especially that one. I mean, we both agreed that I'm not sure we would have done the same in the similar position, although it is always hard to say until you are in that place. It is. I would be interested to learn more about what parents feel, which I think is another bonus in Laurie's book.
Because we do get to see the parents' side of things as well, isn't it?
Yeah, from their perspective as well, because the book is written from lots of different perspectives, because Laurie doesn't remember all the different parts of her life, and her dad and her mum both contributed, and I do think that is an interesting thought, whereas in Made You Up, it is all from her perspective about what her parents are feeling and seeing and doing. So maybe they had more grounds to do that, or maybe they were advised to do that. We just don't know because we don't get that side of what's going on.
That is true.
So I do think The Quiet Room has sort of lots of added bonuses in the book, not just from Laurie's point of view and from the idea of schizophrenia, but also from the wider influence that it has and impact it has on her family members. So is there anything else we want to discuss to compare?
Don't think so.
Okay, well, this is short and sweet, but a nice little comparison between two books. If you've got any comments yourself, please leave them below and we'll read them and comment. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Mental Health Book Club podcast. If you feel that you need additional support with your mental health, please call the Samaritans on 116 123, which is a 24-hour helpline. And if you need additional information about mental health issues, please visit Mind at mind.org.uk. And our next book will be Etched on Me by Jen Crowell. You can find out more by visiting our website, which is mentalhealthbookclub.com. We would really love to hear what you think about this podcast. Please get in touch with us at our Facebook page, which is the Mental Health Book Club, or at our Twitter, which is at MHBC_podcast. And if you like the podcast, please share it with your family and friends and leave us a 5-star rating on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. You can further show your support by contributing to the Mental Health Book Club podcast at Patreon by visiting patreon.com/MHBC.